Good afternoon. Hello. I'm Stanley Pacion, and I'd like to continue what amounts to being now the third part of this examination of Lycurgus' legislation, his constitutional reforms in the ancient Spartan state, which in fact sponsored a form of, it was a state-sponsored homosexuality. I recently saw this movie called 300 Spartans. I watched it again in conjunction with this article that I'm re-editing. And I'll tell you the truth, regardless of its value as a movie, and it did certainly have some very striking features. And I think it was very true in its depiction of the hardness of the ancient Spartans. They were one tough group of people, and the dudes that compromised that society were equally robust and masculine, and people of extraordinary vigor and bravery, and people that had conquered Persia much as the way it's depicted in that film. However, what's missing in it is what Lycurgus really attempted to show about its sexual relations, namely that everything was very homosexual. B, the women were like men. The wife, Leonidas' wife in the movie, as she's depicted as this beautiful gal with long hair, soft skin, elegantly attired, that was not the Spartan woman, nor was that the Spartan ideal of a woman. The Spartan ideal of a woman was one tough cookie. She was the only woman, as they always said, who brought forth men. And also Lycurgus' special relationship with the special relationship with wives never existed according to his legislation. You see it in the movie that this man is fighting for his child and his wife. That was totally alien to Spartan way of thinking. Spartans had a community of wives, and they had a community of children. No one person could own a woman or own a child. The child and the woman were the property of the state. It was a truly communistic society, not in a Marxist sense, not in like Karl Marx, but a true community, a communal group that fought all together for one purpose, the preservation of the Spartan state. Let me continue. To ensure fine breeding, Lycurgus would not allow his citizens the future arsenal of the state begot by first comers, but by the best men that could be found. The preservation of the commonweal. The best citizen soldiers gave wife swapping a new meaning. No narrow emotions were allowed under the Spartan Constitution. All matters, including sexual favors and the begetting of children, were mandated to ensure warrior of the best caliber. It has often been remarked that in ancient Sparta, soldiering went under the battle, one for all and all for one. That motto extended to intimacy. In Sparta, there was no room for possessiveness, no personal jealousy. Any value contrary to the warrior ideal, the love of the soldier who served the state, had no meaning among the ancient Spartans. The whole of private relations, private property, was an anathema to Spartan value system, excluded under Spartan constitutional law. Lycurgus allowed a man who was advanced in years, I'm quoting here, and had a young wife, to recommend some virtuous, approved young man that she might have a child by him, who might inherit the good qualities of the father and be a son unto himself. On the other side, an honest man who had love for a married woman upon account of her modesty and well-favoredness of her children, might without formality beg her company and of her husband, that he might raise, as it were, from his plot of good ground, worthy, let me see if I can say that, worthy and well-allied children for himself. End of quotation. Neither adultery nor adulterers existed in ancient Sparta, for the concept had no meaning. In a state whose very existence depends upon a high birth rate, fidelity was a sentiment of little consequence. And in the end, it turns out to be the masculine ideal. In Plutarch's account of the Spartan Commonwealth, the love of men was transformed into the love of the masculine. The brunt of Lycurgus' legislation fell on anything which might be considered feminine. The exercise he ordered for women, though eugenic and disguised by the abstraction of equality, hid femininity beneath a muscular, masculine frame. The naked, open-air possessions dried the skin, removing all traces of womanly softness. For Lycurgus, only the masculine was worthy of affection. It will be remembered that the bride in Plutarch's portrayal of the wedding night ritual had close-cropped hair and was dressed in a man's clothes. The well-being of the state, the health of the entire commonwealth, depended on its correspondence to the masculine. Hardness, the hard body, was the supreme value in the state, where warrior conditioning was first and the only ideal. This was the aim and meaning of Lycurgus's legislation for Sparta. Well, I hope you enjoyed that article, and I'm going to continue next with Suetonius' account of Rome, of ancient Rome, during the first during the early part of the first century of the empire, and that is something to hear also. So, a good afternoon to all of you out there. Bye.